Hello YouTubers, in this video we're going to be not working on my new Cub Cadet, or new in 2021, but I'm going to be working on my old one. I decided this one I bought in 2003, it's sat here for a while, and so I'm going to do maintenance on it, bring it up to current specs. New plugs, new filter, new oil filter, air filter, spark plugs, and belts. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start with the hard part. If you've seen previous videos of mine, I like to make my day get easier, so I'm going to start with the hard part first, and we'll get to the easier stuff. So the hard part would be, let's get the belts off. The old belts, let's get those off, get the pulley dropped so that we can get the belts off. I'll probably end up cutting the belt and then dropping the pulley, putting the new belt on the pulley and pushing it back up into place. That's probably the plan there. So we'll do that, and then we'll move on to the easy stuff like spark plugs, oil filter, air filter. So you may be thinking, what just happened? Why are we here? Well, it's unfortunate. I had asked to borrow a pair of pulley pullers from my brother-in-law, who's a mechanic. And so he brought them over one day, and I was busy doing something else. And he said he would go drop the pulley, pull it off so that he could take the tool back to work. And by the time I caught up with him, here's what had happened. So as you can see, he bent the hell out of it. So it's mangled beyond all recognition here, and it's just, I don't know, very disappointing, very unfortunate, completely avoidable. Had my mechanic brother-in-law, at the first sign of this thing bending, stop and figure out a back out plan if I do commit myself to bending this thing. Nope, no back out plan. Just decided I'm going to loosen the pulley puller. I'm going to reattach it somewhere else, and I'm going to give it another hell of a pull. And until it was just a mangled piece of metal. So what ended up happening here is I took the motor apart, obviously, and got the motor out so that we could, or I could, see what could be done. And that's where the video will pick up. So what I've done so far, obviously got the motor out, taken the spark plugs out, drained the oil, tilted the motor over, drained the oil as best I can, because what I'm going to do, I think, is turn the motor upside down and I don't want too much oil getting on the other side of the head. Anyway, the next thing to do is to grab that device my brother-in-law brought over and mangled this with, and see if I can't get it to grab now that it's off the whole thing. Anyway, let's see what we got. So this is what I'm talking about. Pulley puller. It's the only thing I know it by. Doesn't sound right. Anyway, I got it on there. Let's see what we get. So I was not able to get the pulley off. I had that pulley puller contorted like a pretzel all over the place, and it never did budge. So from here, what I ended up doing was I took the motor to Cub Cadet, where I live here, and they were able to get it off. And let's show you that. All right, so here is the pulley. Had to be blowtorched off from Cub Cadet. They could not get it off with their pulley puller. They said it was seized to the shaft. So it was never going to come off with any kind of pulley puller. Only a blowtorch broke it in half. That cost me $150 to get that off and a new one on. waste of money when it was completely avoidable. So I digress. Anyway, let's jump back to the video and getting the motor back from Cub Cadet. So we got our motor back from Cub Cadet, the local dealer here where I live. They've gone through and had to torch this bad boy off. This is the new one. They got it held in with a wire strap, wire tie, zip tie, whatever. And this here is just dirt from me cleaning the motor. You saw the before, which I'll put up on the screen. And the now, obviously, I've cleaned it. So what you're seeing down there is just dirt that I'll clean back up once we're ready to put this in the engine. So yeah, the other piece had to be torched off. Lesson learned here is there is no need at all to pull the pulley off, ever. These are designed, and I talked to the people at Cub Cadet, or the service manager at Cub Cadet. The way they recommend these things coming off is to undo the bolt on the engine, like I did, lift the engine up, feed the new belt into the track, and drop it back down into place, and that will keep it behind these guards. This is the belt guard, that, and there's one right here. That keeps the belt from falling off. So essentially you need to lift the engine up, have your belt coming through here, put it onto the pulley, and drop the engine back into place, and that will hold it. And we're about to do that. Next step is to get the motor in, but before it goes all the way in, I'm going to show you, we're going to leave it cockeyed, because we're going to feed our new belt through the bottom. So this is a new old stock. This is the engine pulley. So this goes onto the engine pulley we just had put in, and we're going to run it to the back. We're going to fish our pulley through the hole and around the engine. So get it inside of the engine area first. I'm going to slip it over. I will get a wire strap and strap it together. All right, let's take a look. Beautiful. Not perfect yet, but on its way to being perfect. It's coming down over. If you're sitting on the tractor, it comes down the right side of the engine. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So obviously, you know, I ran the belt to the engine pulley first, and then I fished it over this. I've already gone ahead and routed it, but just wanted to show you this real quick. Even if whether you start at the front or the back, this fan will spin as long as the belt's not on it. So what I did was I just walked the belt around the fan, slipping it onto the pulley, walked it around it because there was nothing on it holding it in place, so the pulley moved freely. All right, so now let's get the engine locked back into place, and we should be good on the engine pulley, or excuse me, the drive pulley. I said engine. Well, it is the engine pulley to the transmission. Next will be the PTO pulley to the blade deck. So the first three bolts, that one, this one, and this one, are all easy. I've just got them started. You'll see underneath. In order to get this back one, just turn the wheels to the left, and that will expose the bolt here. Otherwise, this will be in the way if it's straight or close to straight, so you're better off turning it to the left and exposing the bolt hole. Now you should be able to reach up in there and start. So just like the other one, you wanted to turn the wheels left, this one turn the wheels right, and that will expose that bolt. Very easy. Okay, the engine's in, everything's bolted up, going nowhere. Drive belt to the transmission is in, or the engine pulley to transmission is in. Like I said, the next pulley that we'll deal with, or belt, will be the pulley for the blade deck. But for now, let's finish up buttoning the engine up. We're going to connect this up to the starter. Okay, so I've taken pictures. So this red connection here goes there. This red wire here was always disconnected. According to my picture, you see it there. It's always disconnected. This harness here, you can see the picture, goes into this harness here. Like so. I'll snug that up in just a minute. And where did this blue go? This goes to the PTO. So, I'm looking around for that for no reason. So I think the next thing to do is hook up the gas line, put back in the battery, and connect up the front end. Okay, on this side of the motor, I've hooked up oil pressure switch. I guess that's what that is. Makes sense since it's next to the oil filter. The only other thing to run here are the throttle cables. So here's how the cables go. I've got them plugged in already, but I just need to route them behind the appropriate screws, like there. And there's one behind it. So let me get that. Lining this all up was just inserting the bolts into the bracket over there, and just the rest of it. Bolt here, bolt over there, and it shuts. Just like it should. Okay, so, all right, let's put the PTO on. This is our PTO. We got a bolt that goes into the pulley up here, right there. I'm just going to align the keyway with the pulley and pop it in there. Okay, so I had an issue the other day, and when I went to put on the PTO, the screw seemed to be getting resistance at the outset, and I think I've attributed that to this. So what has happened is when this went up in there inside of the crankshaft that the pulley sits in, so I bought this, a threader. I'm going to see if I can put that up into the shaft and just see if we can't clean up any kind of threading problems that the screw was having, because I don't want to create a problem with this screw. Just like putting anti-seize on the new pulley, I want this to be able to be maintenance next time by me or whoever, so the pulley should drop off. And I also want to make sure the cut screw comes out and goes in like it's supposed to without. So this screw was or the thread up in there is a 7/16 by 20 fine thread. So I've started the threader, and I'm at a point where there's resistance. So I grab my 1/4 inch wrench. I want to keep this as level as possible. So that it's straight across, and just let the threader do its work. Hardly any effort on my part. And again, it's because we mangled it by putting the pulley puller up in there and just whatever. Just anyway, This part was only like $7 on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. Anyway, I'm just going to keep cleaning up the threads, and then we'll put on our PTO and the bolt. Okay, let's get the PTO. This is how it should go on, nice and easy. Okay, the PTO is on. Everything nice and snug. Went on like I expected. Also reattached this spring here. When I took that off for maintenance, I don't guess I needed to, but I did. That's where my one spring was. Everything feels right. So let me go get the deck and we'll attach it to the mower. So I'm not going to cover the basic service on this stuff. I feel like it's too easy. Right there is the drain plug. Right there is the oil filter. Right here are the spark plugs. Just pop the cap off. Here's the air filter. That's basic stuff. So what I'm going to do is get everything drained and these things replaced. I got it all back together. Looking like a mower. Fairly good looking one. 20 some years old. I got the belt back on. And I had to charge the battery. It would not crank. So let's give her a whirl. What does the battery say? 13 volts. YouTubers. I was able to put it back together. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. We took care of the belts, PTO and deck belt. We took care of the pulley and charged the belt, or charged the battery, changed the oil, air filter, spark plugs, all of that. So I think it's in working order. Anyway, YouTubers, if you like the video, like the video.